Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So I thought it would be kind of fun to update my best gear loadout video for this game, since now at 1350 plus there are actually better gear options than in the past. So in this video I'm going to be going over pretty good DPS options, pretty good defense options, support players, all that good stuff. Anyways, let's get right into it. So all this is going to be assuming that you're level 1350 plus obviously, and that you're max stat to get the best effect. Also, of course, you're going to want a max level pet. You want a crit pet. 28 or higher is preferable. You don't need 30, 28 is fine. And then of course you're going to want it godly, and then you're also going to of course want the tier 6 pet gem. We're going to start with a DPS class that is just insanely overpowered. So of course the sword is going to be Inferno, and then what you're going to want for the ring for this class is going to be the Gauntlet of Anticipation. Now some people do use the Ring of Gravity for a lot more critical and more speed, but I kind of want the damage on this, and a little bit of crit it works is enough for me. Also Binded Energy of Time, of course, because it's so broken. You're going to want Armor of Otherworldly Power, the Aura for everything, Shadow Curse, or the Light Aura from EOT, which I do not have. And the rune for this, a very good DPS rune right now, is Rune of the Sacred Zephyr. Now the abilities you're going to want to use with this rune are going to be Windstorm, Cyclone, and then Havoc. You want to hit Q and then E, and you do a ton of damage, plus you get this F skill that lets you fly around the map, which is very effective, very nice to use. The reason why you want this rune with Havoc and then those two attacks with the sword is because of this. If you get killed and you activate the Inferno sword's ability and you get that 300% damage increase and you use Havoc, you pretty much 4-shot, maybe 6-shot the boss. You do an absurd amount of damage, and I can assure you that this is very broken right now. And Inferno is pretty much the best DPS sword in the game, although it's a little sketchy to use because you have to die in order for the effect to kick in. So it's almost better for rush play if you're speedrunning stuff and you're not trying to take your time and be cautious. In team play, I am sure this is going to be a very good option, a very good rune, and a very good sword to use if your whole entire team knows what they're doing and everybody is doing the strategy where they die and then they get the crazy damage buff. Although if you're in an organized team and you don't want your players dying for this buff and not everybody's on the same page, I'd recommend doing the same gear loadout but then use True Guardian instead. If you switch it out for True Guardian, then when you get a shield from your protector players, you get another 50% damage, so True Guardian is still a safe option if you don't want to do the crazy dying for the 300% damage buff. Although I would recommend Inferno more. Anyways, you can of course also use Rune of the Flame God. For Rune of the Flame God, if you're using this one, I'd recommend Acceleration Divider, Shatter, and then depending on what you're doing, Havoc or Calamity if your team's organized and your Flame God players don't need the Calamity themselves, then definitely use Havoc. Anyways, Flame God's always a good option. It does massive DOT damage, and it is somewhat safer than Rune of the Zephyr. It's also a lot easier to get than Rune of the Zephyr. Very powerful rune overall, and of course still setup. And you can also do the thing where you die with the Inferno Sword with the Flame God. That's also very effective. Now, if you're doing the Endless Wave Defense thing, I'd actually recommend you're going to be using the Rune of the Ice Queen. So if you're using the Rune of the Ice Queen in there, you want to be doing Mending Sword, Shatter, and then Calamity, of course. This is very good in there because it has such a massive radius on this attack. As you can see, it lets you hit everything and do a really good job of mobbing. So this is probably the best offensive class in there. Now, let's get into defense. We're going to go over the Protector role first. I don't think you're going to necessarily want to be using Inferno if you are a supportive player because it's very risky. So, True Guardian as the sword, the ring you're going to want to use is of course to release Energy of Space for all the health. The necklace is still Binded Energy of Time for all the health. The armor is going to be True Neutral of course, and the aura, Shadow Curse Aura. Now the rune can be either the Egg Rune or the Rune of the Protector, just use whatever one you have. And then of course you're using Cloak of Light, Safeguard, and most likely Calamity, maybe Mending. It really depends on what your team wants you to do, maybe even an attack. Anyways, with this setup, you're going to be having a lot of health, although your speed is pretty bad, but you will definitely not be dying. Now, as a Safeguard Protector player, you also can just use Armor of Otherworldly Power. You don't need to have that much health. 72 million is fine, and now your health is up to 35, which is a lot better than with True Neutral. Anyways, Let's now go into the party rune player. If you're doing party rune, I actually would recommend that you use true neutral so you have the most health you can have, so you heal people for more. So of course with that, you're going to be using, you know, all the moves from it. You're going to be using Mending Sword, Cloak of Light still, and then of course you're going to be using Menacing Shout. It's just smart. All of these are fantastic moves and supportive moves for your team. You're going to be healing everybody for a lot. As you can see, 12 million there. If I put on the other armor, I'm only healing for 9 million, so definitely use true neutral if you're going to be a party rune player and healing everybody. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is the rune of the Silencer. As the Silencer, you don't really need true neutral. I would recommend armor of otherworldly power for some speed and still a lot of health. For this setup, of course, you're going to want to be using Lure Jab because it is cracked with this. Most likely Calamity because a lot of your offense players are going to want to be using Havoc. And then for your third, it kind of depends on what your team wants you to do. If you're going to do an attack, you can always do Flurry because Flurry does a lot of damage. Same with Blaze Slash. Blaze Slash probably does a little bit more damage. You can always heal. You can just use Calamity, Shout, and Lure, Jab, and Safeguard maybe. It's really up to you and your team at that time. Anyways, that is pretty much, in my opinion, the best gear setups in this game right now. Please comment down below if there's a setup that I forgot to mention that you guys wanted to see. Let me know if I am crazy, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.